What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing some battles in this season's Championship Series Cup with a backline that can quickly get out of hand if you don't have direct counters to it, and of course I'm talking about the double legacy bug bite duo of Shadow Venomoth and Shadow Beedrill. Now the reason a team like this doesn't really work in most metas is because Bug is the single most resisted typing in the game, with tons of meta Pokemon resisting or even double resisting it, so despite the oppressive fast move pressure in neutral matchups, there are way too many situations where they get completely walled. In this meta however, Flying, Steel and Fighting types are outright banned, all of which normally resisting the bug typing, and the only fairy not banned in this meta is Grimmsnarl, which is also part dark so it takes neutral damage. This leaves only Fire, Poison and Ghost types to resist the bug typing. Obviously there are a lot of rollout users, but they are non-stab damage, so it's really not that bad to deal with. And as you can see, I'm running Counter Haxorus in the lead to somewhat counter those bulky normal types, but I'll be honest, it is pretty crap, so you can use literally whatever you want in the lead and still do pretty well. Now I have seen Homesize Henry has also just uploaded a bug bite Beedrill video, so potentially people will be looking to hard counter it a bit more now, but when I did these battles at least, this backline absolutely ran through a bunch of teams. With that being said, let's just get into the question of the day. Which league are you playing in right now, and which league would you prefer to see content in this week? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Let's go into the first battle, leading Haxorus into Spiritomb. So not the best, as they are going to resist my counter damage, so I say swap into my shiny Shadow Venomoth, and I'm met with a Licky Licky. Now of course, Rollout's hitting for super effective damage, Body Slam is going to chunk quite a fair bit, but I am going to be able to reach a Bug Buzz, and if they don't respect this, Bug Buzz is going to do insane damage, and we actually flip that matchup in the zero shield scenario. That is huge for me. I can now come in with the Shadow Beedrill. As you can see, we're running a mono bug type moveset here because we don't really need Draw Run. I think most of the fire type Pokemon are actually going to take neutral damage from the bug typing anyways, as, well, I mean, there aren't really any fire type Pokemon, but some of them are dark type as well. Either way, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to swap out, make a catch here, catching a resisted Aquatel onto my Haxorus, and at this point, the opponent will still be able to outpace me. This could be a crunch, so I'm actually going to shield this. They do bait with an Aquatel, however, but I don't really care too much. At this point, I'm going to go for Breaking Swipe, looking to debuff their attack stat. The opponent isn't really going to overfarm by much at all. They throw the charge through straight away. Crunch gets the KO there, but now we can come in with the Shadow Beedrill, outpacing to the Fell Stinger. Fell Stinger, gonna get the KO, boost up my attack stat, meaning I can Bug Bite, farm down the Spiritomb, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle. We see Haxorus into Licky Licky. So this is going to be a sort of positive matchup for us in the one shield scenario if they do actually shield. However, most of them are very bulky and they are just probably going to choose not to shield the first charge move. So here, I do throw a Night Slash just in case they do end up shielding, but the opponent doesn't shield. Turns out Breaking Swipe wouldn't quite get the KO from that range anyway, so honestly, I'd probably rather leave them with slightly more farm for my Venomoth to come in and farm them down there. But either way, they actually swap out straight away into Kingdra. Now, if you recognize this team, it was showcased on Homesize Henry's channel recently, and it's going to be a Shadow Tyranitar in the back, which means Shadow Beedrill is absolutely licking its lips right now, as we can just safely shield here, we can go for a full Bug Bite farm down, and we will come out with a Fell Stinger already loaded. The opponent comes in, they reveal the Tyranitar, we go straight for Fell Stinger. Fell Stinger doesn't hit that hard, but Bug Bite's absolutely shredding through their HP. They come back in with Licky Licky. I'm able to farm them down, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle. We're going to see Ariados in the lead. So this is definitely a tricky matchup for me. Counter is double resisted, so we swap into Venomoth, and we are at least going to resist all of their charge moves, assuming they're not on Shadow Sneak, which wouldn't really make too much sense in this meta anyways, but they come in with a double. That is actually fine with me. We can go straight for Poison Fang there. The opponent gonna fire off the Body Slam, and I'm not entirely sure if I could have got the Bug Bite farm down, so instead, we just throw a second Poison Fang, throwing on CMP, winning CMP, and flipping that matchup. At this point, I'm definitely gonna let the Venomoth go down. Lunge, even resisted, gets the KO from that range, but now we can come in with the Shadow Beedrill. I'm going to no-shield the first move as they go for another lunge, debuff my attack stat, but remember, we can boost it up once again with a Fell Stinger. However, I think what I'm actually going to do, shield the next charge move, and then just commit to a full Bug Bite farm down. They actually didn't go for a lunge this time around. Either way, I'm going to swap out, clear the debuff, come in with my Haxorus, and this is just going to be a Power-Up Punch. Power-Up Punch still does decent damage up against Haxorus because it is very glassy, but we're able to survive. We reach a Night Slash. That is double resisted, but it grabs a shield anyways, and at this point, we can go go for Fell Stinger. Fell Stinger grabs the final shield. We've got the X's are locked and loaded. X's are going to lose CMP up against the Grimmsnarl. However, it doesn't really matter. We still had that shield in play, and even so, I think we probably live a boosted up power punch anyways, as it's double resisted, and I'm able to get the KO with the X's and take that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle. Going to see Spidops in the lead. So, once again, not a great matchup for me. Going to be safe swapping into Venomoth. And actually, despite the fact that they have super effective coverage in Rock Tomb, that's a positive matchup for the Venomoth. So, the opponent swaps out into Kingdra. They do chip a little bit there with the Bug Bite damage before swapping out. Either way, I'm going to shield the Swift, and I will be able to now commit to a full Bug Bite farm down as they did not shield. And now I'm still able to reach another Poison Fang up against the Spidops. Remember, Bug Bite is resisted up against my Shadow Venomoth, so they have to throw a charge move, meaning we can no shield this. Lunge gets the KO. We come in with the Beedrill and we get the full Bug Bite farm down. Their final Pokemon gonna be a Dunsparce here, and you know what? I'm not gonna bait this time around. I'm going straight for X-Scissor. X-Scissor actually gonna be shielded by the opponent. I don't really care too much at this point. We're going to no-shield this. The opponent is going to go for the Body Slam. We're able to tank it, but I'm not going to allow myself to be fully farmed down. Instead, going to swap into my Haxorus. The opponent going to go for Body Slam, but counters hitting for super effective damage. I'm able to counter, farm them all the way down, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle, and this is quite an interesting matchup. Counters double super effective, but of course, Dragon Breath also hitting full super effective damage. Unfortunately, not quite able to fully fast move farm them down before they get to a charge move, which is a little bit disappointing for the Haxorus, since we are so attack weighted and counter is double super effective. But of course, it is non-stab, so I guess it makes sense. Either way, I'm just going to stay in, fire off the Breaking Swipe, debuff their attack stats, and now we come in with the Shadow Venomoth. Their debuffs, I wouldn't shield anyways, just because Wild Charge or Payback not going to deal that much damage, and because they full send a Wild Charge, they don't even reach another charge move. The opponent tries to make the catch there onto their Tyranitar, which we're able to hold onto the energy, go for Poison Fang, and that's going to be game over. Honestly, I could just settle for a Fell Stinger, but you know what? I'm going to shield here and go for an X-Scissor anyways. X-Scissor is massive overkill from this range, but it will certainly get the KO up against the shiny Shadow Kingdra, which is a cool flex, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle. We're going to see Miltank in the lead. So, a slightly positive matchup for me. The opponent's going to safe swap into Seeking, and honestly, I am so stupid here. I completely forgot that they were on Peck, so I was counting to 7 before I threw a Night Slash, but of course, on Peck, it only takes 6 Pecks to get to an Icy Wind. So, at this point, I realized I could go for back-to-back Night Slashes. I was hoping I could snipe there with the Bug Bite damage, but no, I'm not able to do so. So, everything going wrong for me so far. Either way, we're now debuffed. They come in with a Dunsparce, and I will be able to reach a Poison Fang, but still not in a great position. I am debuffed. I grab a shield anyways, though, and the opponent committing to a super aggressive farm down allows me to reach another Poison Fang. Poison Fang, this time not going to be shielded, and it gets them crazy low. The opponent then swaps out. They're on like 1 HP there, so if I'm able to get my Beedrill aligned to the Dunsparce there, maybe they don't get off any energy at all. If we can get a Bug Bite Snipe with just one fast move, maybe we've got a chance, but the opponent goes for the crazy play there. Full send of the nuke, realizing I'm probably going to save my shield, meaning the opponent able to actually get the rollout farm down up against me. That is so painful. And actually, if I was able to get a simultaneous KO there, I still would have won, because Haxorus gets the counter through as the opponent tries to throw a charge move there, and I still had a shield. But unfortunately, we do end up going down. So GG's to that trainer. Very close game there. Obviously, if I had played slightly better with my Haxorus in the lead matchup up against the Seeking, could have been quite comfortable for me. But either way, into the next battle, we are going to see a Spiritomb in the lead. The opponent going to shield, then swap into their Furret, and they're actually going to double shield here up against my Shadow Venomoth. That is fine with me. We can come in with the Haxorus, and I am going to no-shield the first charge move. I will then shield the next Swift, as they do have back-to-back already. But now we should be able to counter farm them down and come out with a Night Slash loaded. So I'm just going to blind throw straight away. They actually come in with a Charm Liepard, which is interesting to see. However, Bug Bite Beedrill absolutely shredding it to pieces. We can come in, we can just shield here. The opponent going to go for a Rock Tomb, debuff my attack stat. We don't care. We've got Fell Stinger. We can just boost it up right back straight away again. And of course, Fell Stinger gets the KO. Bug Bites, easily taking out the Liepard. And I'm able to take that game. So, GG's to win their next battle. I'm going to see a Shadow Malamar in the lead. So, I've got 2 Bug Bite users in the back. So, I'm going to swap out, and the opponent takes an absolute eternity to swap out. They come in with an Umbreon, and that is real bad news for the opponent. We can go for the Poison Fang, grab a shield there. At this point, you know what? I'm happy to just no-shield this. Foul Play doesn't get the KO there, so they do get slightly more energy, but it doesn't really matter. I'm going to come in with the Haxorus just because I can snipe with the Beedrill later on up against that Malamar. So, we're going to no-shield the first move here as they go for a Foul Play. They swap into Shadow Drapion, and I recognize they're not going to shield this. This is going to be a resisted Night Slash, but Night Slash in that resisted damage there is able to put them into range. I can shield once with my Shadow Beedrill and then just fully Bug Bite farm them down. And at this point, there is literally nothing they can do. They can fire off the charge move. Of course, I'm going to shield. I've got 2 shields. We get the Bug Bite farm down. They come back in with the Malamar. They're not even reaching a charge move. And of course, Umbreon is a sitting duck right there, and so they just concede the match. So, GG's to win their next battle. We can see Zangoose in the lead. So, cool spice from the opponent. The opponent stays in initially just to see the fast move, and they actually swap into an Ember Shadow Shelgon, which is really cool to see, of course. Not ideal for me, however. Embers, they're non-stab. They're really not dealing that much damage at all, so a little bit disappointing on their end, I'm sure. But we can go for Poison Fang. They shield that up, but we debuff them, and we're able to Bug Bite farm them all the way down. So we're able to maintain alignment here. The opponent's going to come in with a second Dragon type. This time, a lot more meta. It's going to be a Shadow Kingdra, but we can go for Poison Fang. And now I'm actually going to not allow a full farm down. Instead, we swap into Shadow Beedrill. I don't need to shield this here. Just going to be a Night Slash. Night Slash is still going to do quite a lot of damage, so I will just fire off an X-Scissor straight away. But of course, X-Scissor gets the KO. They come back in with that Shadow Kingdra, but we can come in with the Haxorus, and I've now got the energy for a Night Slash. So even if they do have back-to-back charge moves, it's irrelevant as Haxorus easily wins CMP. We can go for Night Slash. Night Slash will get the KO from this range. I believe the opponent has just quit out of the app there. But either way, Night Slash does get the KO, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's to win their next battle. We can see Galissapod in the lead. So, not a great matchup for me once again. So, I will be swapping into Venomoth, and the opponent is going to choose to stay in here. I'm going to shield this because if they're not swapping out, then clearly they don't have a great response to my Venomoth. So, I shield that. Of course, I am resisting the Fury Cutter damage. We can go for Poison Fang. Poison Fang would put them into Bug Bite farm down range, so the opponent ends up using a shield in return. At this point, they go for an X-Scissor for some reason. I do not understand that play at all, but we can now go for another Poison Fang. Poison Fang is resisted up against Dragalge, which would have been a pretty good answer to my Venomoth, so I'm honestly not sure why they didn't swap out there. Either way, we no-shield, and they full send a Sludge Bomb. Honestly, I thought they'd bait there because Haxorus is so glassy. But at this point, we're now in a slightly tricky situation. We come in with the Shadow Beedrill. I don't think the Fell Stinger resisted would have got the KO there, so I didn't throw straight away. And their final Pokemon is going to be a Shadow Hydreigon. Now, we have to make a catch here. Fell Stinger is going to allow a Bug Bite to do huge damage, but I somehow miscounted. I don't even know how to speak there. Somehow I what am I trying to say? Miscounted there. Lost track of their energy. That's what I meant to say. Lost track of their energy, and they get to a charge. What the hell? Anyways, these Bug Bites are insane damage right here. We're going to swap into Venomoth, dealing like 2/3 of the Meowscarada's health there. They come in with a Dragalge, and we've still done so much damage to them. They go for Aquatel, which is not quite enough to get the KO, so they do get the full farm down. This time, are we going to come in with the Haxorus? No, we're going to come in with the Shadow Beedrill, and we're just going to use a shield. Of course, we know they've got Meowscarada, which is basically completely useless. They do have Charm, at least, so they can deal decent damage into Haxorus, but their final Pokemon is going to be a Drapion. So here, I'm going to go for Fell Stinger. Fell Stinger is going to boost up my attack stat, and of course, I'm going to use a shield. They likely... No, never mind. I was going to say they likely go for an Aquatel, but no, they actually full sent the crunch there. So now I'm going to go for another Fell Stinger. Fell Stinger, going to grab the final shield. I swap into Haxorus. The opponent swaps out just to be fully farmed down there. And the opponent also over farming with the Drapion, allowing me to reach a Night Slash. Night Slash is resisted damage. However, from this range, it will get the KO, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up in there into the next battle. I can see a Purified Beedrill in the lead. So, don't let Jamie Finn see this opponent here. We are going to swap into our Venomoth, and we're met with a Miltank. Now, up against the Licky, we did go and full send a Bug Buzz. I'm not really sure why I didn't do that in this matchup. However, I am just going to no shield here. The opponent's going to go for Body Slam, and as you can see, we don't reach a second Poison Fang or get a Bug Bite farm down either. So, yeah, I don't really know why I played it out like I did. Either way, we can come in with the Haxorus. I'm going to no shield the Charge Move here, as this is just going to be another Body Slam. We can counter farm them down. I now swap into my own Beedrill, and the opponent's going to have an Umbreon in the back, and that is huge for me. I'm going to shield the first Charge Move. They go and full send a Dark Pulse. So I'm actually going to go for a Fell Stinger. Fell Stinger isn't going to deal that much damage. However, it's going to take them 3 more Snarls to get to a Charge Move, meaning we get the full farm down, and that is now huge for me. We've only got resisted damage to throw into the opposing Beedrill. However, our Bug Bites are absolutely shredding through them right now. So we're going to shield here. The opponent is going to go for a Drill Run, so they're not on Fell Stinger. They've also got resisted Poison Jab damage rather than Bug Bites or Poison Stings. So at this point, we go for another Fell Stinger. We get them incredibly low to the point where actually, even though it's double resisted and non-stab, we can come in with Haxorus, get the counter farm down, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's opponent into the next battle. We're going to see Haxorus into Greninja. So, a positive matchup for me and actually just great for the entire team. The opponent's going to say swap into Spidops. I'm going to come in with the Shadow Venomoth, and they will just barely outpace me to that first charge move. But as I mentioned already, even though they've got super effective Rock Tomb, this is still a positive matchup for the Venomoth, as we are resisting the opposing Bug Bite damage, and we can just barely outpace them. So at this point, we go for Poison Fang. We can go for a second Poison Fang here. Poison Fang number 2 is going to be no shielded. It gets the KO. They come back in with Greninja, and the opponent gets fully Bug Bite farmed down there. I don't know what their plan was, but it does not work out for them, and as a result, they end up conceding the match. So, GG's opponent into the next battle. We're going to see another Licky in the lead. They're going to say swap into Kingdra, so I will be responding with my Shadow Venomoth straight away. Now, at this point, I'm going to no-shield this. It's just a Swift. It's also a non-Shadow Kingdra, so I can tank that and reach a Poison Fang. I realized if I shield there, they can very easily outpace me to the next charge move anyways, so might as well just commit no shields, grab a shield advantage, come in with my Shadow Beedrill here, shield once, and then commit to a full Bug Bite farm down. Actually, nope, never mind. I'm not even going to bother shielding this time around here. Maybe it's going to be Tyranitar in the back. It is the Tyranitar, in which case, counter Haxorus is going to be very nice here. However, our charge moves don't really deal that much damage into Licky. They go for Body Slam. We're going to go for a Breaking Swipe. Now, Breaking Swipe is stab damage, but it's an awful charge move, and it doesn't get the KO even from a very attack-weighted Haxorus. However, it doesn't really matter. We can come in with the Shadow Beedrill. They come back in with Tyranitar, and we're about to go for Fell Stinger. Fell Stinger, gonna boost up my attack stat. These Bug Bites absolutely tearing through their HP, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's opponent into the next battle. We're going to see Ariados in the lead. So once again, double resisted counter damage. I'm going to be safe swapping into Venomoth, and the opponent is once again going to respond with a Licky. But again, they have let me get to so much energy, so I'm just going to no-shield this, and again, we can reach a Bug Buzz. So Bug Buzz, are they going to shield? Absolutely not. It doesn't get the one shot, but it does allow me to farm them down there. But now they come in with a Goodra. Now, honestly, my Haxorus doesn't really have any play into their team, so I'm just going to come in here because I realize I probably wall the charge moves unless they have Draco Meteor, in which case they go for Thunder Punch anyways. We can go for Night Slash, and then I will swap into my Beedrill. Night Slash, gonna be shielded. We can come in with the Beedrill, and I'm going to resist the charge moves on the Ariados, so I might as well shield here. I know Thunder Punch isn't going to deal that much damage, but yeah, we're going to resist everything, so I'm going to no-shield this. But the opponent goes for a Mega Horn, and despite being resisted, that nearly gets the one shot. So at this point, it's going to be game over, unfortunately. X's are going to be shielded. They get the full Poison Sting farm down. They can Poison Sting, farm down the Haxorus as well. And unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG's opponent into the next battle. I can see Obstagoon in the lead. A great lead matchup for me. However, they then come in with a huge core breaker to the team in the form of Dragapult. Now, they are going to resist the damage here from my Bug Bites, but I don't think anyone told the Dragapult about that because we are seriously chunking. We've been debuffed in our attack stat, and yet we get a full farm down there. They come in with a Rock Throw Tyrantrum. That is insane spice from the opponents. But unfortunately for them, counter Haxorus gets a full farm down. And unfortunately, Obstagoon had literally zero play up against my team. We go for the debuff there. We come in with Shadow Beedrill, so the opponent just concedes the match. But I appreciate the insane spice from the opponent there. Into the next battle, we're going to see Haxorus into Spider. So again, not a great matchup for us. We're going to be swapping into Venomoth, and the opponent's going to choose to stay in here. And this is a CMP tie, so this should not be a Rock Tomb. It can only be a Lunge, in which case, of course, Lunge is going to be resisted, so I'm just not going to bother shielding. Lunge is going to connect, of course. They come in with a Sea King, and with the chip damage from the Lunge and the Bug Bites, they do get quite a nice Peck farm down. However, that's okay with me. I'm going to shield up the Icy Wind here. I'm hoping I can reach a Breaking Swipe before they get to the next one, but unfortunately just barely not able to do so. I have to say, the synergy of Counter and Breaking Swipe is awful these days. It takes so long to get there, and Breaking Swipe is just not even a good charge loop at all. Either way, we come in, we get the Bug Bite Snipe with the Shadow Beedrill. They come back in with the Spidops, and I think they might just be trying to force some of my energy here. Either way, I'm going to go for Fell Stinger, boost up my attack stat, and unfortunately that was the case, as they're going to have a Dunsparce in the back. But we go for another Fell Stinger. Fell Stinger number 2 is not shielded, and wait a second. If they're in range where a single Bug Bite gets the KO, they're not going to get off a second charge move. That is huge for me. I don't know why they didn't bother shielding there. I guess they thought we had more energy than we did, but either way, I'm able to take that game. So, GG's jump in there into possibly the final battle of this video, leading into a Shadow Kingdra. We're going to swap out straight away into Venomoth, and we're met with a Spiritomb. Now, even though Poison Fang is going to be resisted here, they're likely going to shield anyways, and the opponent is going to shield. They're committing to a full farm down, and we actually get to another Poison Fang. That is huge for me. Going to grab both shields, and the opponent probably expecting us to get the KO there, so they end up throwing their charge move. Otherwise, maybe, yeah, that would have been a simultaneous KO. So, huge waste for the Spiritomb. We come in with a Haxorus, realizing they didn't have a direct response to the Venomoth, so likely Beedrill is going to go on a rampage in the endgame of this final battle. So at this point, we're going to shield here as they fire off the Swift, and the opponent is going to come in with an Incineroar. Of course, double kicks are double resisted. We're actually going to no-shield here. I was like, that's not going to be a Blaze Kick. It can only be a Brutal Swing. That did more damage than I was expecting. That was quite risky, but it doesn't really matter. We farmed up to back-to-back X-Scissors. We can throw them straight away. First one takes out Incineroar. Second one takes out Shadow Kingdra. And I'm able to take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. Now, if you want to take your support to the next level, you can become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments of every video. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has become a channel member already. Your support is greatly appreciated. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.